A slightly different version of WTF Wrestling this week, we're going to be looking directly at Brock Lesnar, who may be leaving the WWE when his contract is run down because the WWE, particularly Triple H and Nick Khan, have no real interest in using him after investigations currently ongoing on Vince McMahon and allegations made which actually include, potentially, Brock Lesnar. We're going to be using a lot of lawyer speak here to protect ourselves. I do apologise for it. I'm going to start by running down the situation as it is now, the plans that were in place for Brock Lesnar, how that is going to change, and then as usual we will wrap up by reporting exactly what the situation is at current. We won't be using as many sources as we usually do, but there's still plenty that are going to pop up from names such as the Sports Illustrated and Bleacher Report camp. Also gaming media, which is now involved in this one. It's an interesting story. So this, as with everything right now, starts and ends with Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon is currently under federal investigation. A part of this is from the Wall Street Journal reporting last week about a court filing via a Janelle Grant that Vince McMahon is accused of sex trafficking and sex abuse. Brock Lesnar's involvement in this actually comes down to a few different things. He's not named as a defendant in the court filing and is not named at all in the court filing. It is interpreted by the Wall Street Journal that Brock Lesnar is a third party referred to as a WWE superstar in the court filing. Unfortunately, as there is a federal investigation ongoing, Brock Lesnar is likely to be dragged into this one, whether he wants it or not. The accusations which seem to be in and around Brock Lesnar are that Vince McMahon used Janelle Grant as a make-weight to ensure that a WWE superstar who is also a former UFC champion signs a new contract. I just want to give you a moment to have that settle in. The accusation is that Vince McMahon gifted a person to Brock Lesnar in order to ensure that Brock Lesnar signed a new WWE contract, which he had every intention, by all accounts, of signing anyway. Now, as I mentioned, Brock Lesnar was not himself named, so the evidence that we have to go on is that the filing states in the allegation that it is a WWE superstar and a former UFC champion who was looking to sign a new WWE contract during that set period of dates. The Wall Street Journal named this person as Brock Lesnar, and in the course of my own investigation, I haven't been able to find anyone else who it legitimately could be. As far as I can tell, it kind of has to be. Now, even if this is a direct reference to Brock Lesnar, he technically is not accused of any wrongdoing. The allegations contain, and I'm going to make sure to read these off my notes to be clear, details that he attempted to arrange a time to meet and have sex, and that he requested a video of her urinating, referring to her by crude terms afterwards. The suggestion seems to be, with the fact that he is not named in the actual court filing, that he may have believed this to be a consensual relationship. Of course, that doesn't escape the choices made by the accused WWE superstar, and if it indeed is Brock Lesnar, it may bring into question a lot of his current working and actual relationships. Action was taken by Triple H and Nick Khan immediately to ensure that Brock Lesnar would not appear on TV screens with this possible allegation against him currently still being worked through. Now, before we go into what's going to be happening next, let's talk about what the actual plans were as originally reported on Spoiler Warning here on the Tom Colohue channel, before we then get to the Brock Lesnar changes that are incoming. Brock Lesnar is one of a number of people in the WWE right now in need of a new contract, but the WWE are going a little bit off cycle right now because Nick Khan wants them signed, sealed and sorted well before their contract expires. Very different how it was under the Vince McMahon era. Typically, Brock Lesnar's cycle is to renew a deal just before SummerSlam so that he can make a SummerSlam appearance. He likes to have a break between WrestleMania and SummerSlam, as we've all seen. However, the WWE were pushing for a lot of big signatures before WrestleMania, ensuring that the WrestleMania cycle is the one respected for new deals. This means that people who come in can debut after WrestleMania and will be fully sorted until after the end of WrestleMania. WrestleMania then becomes the peak and the beginning of the new season, as it has always been. We've seen this lately, particularly with our Royal Rumble winners. Cody Rhodes and Bayley have already had new deals signed, and those have not yet been announced by the WWE, but would be announced shortly after WrestleMania. There's also a number of wrestlers' negotiations ongoing when it comes to, for example, Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch and Drew McIntyre. Those are all the big names, but there are plenty more names involved, and Roman Reigns' contract is being negotiated or will be doing shortly. And Roman Reigns' contract hasn't got too long left either, so negotiations will probably kick in there soon. The accusations against Vince McMahon state that in order to get the last wrestling contract over the line of the mentioned WWE superstar who the Wall Street Journal believes to be Brock Lesnar, Vince McMahon was sharing explicit pictures without the consent of the claimant and acting as a sex trafficker for her. This time around, Vince McMahon isn't involved at all, and Brock literally walked out of SmackDown when he was first told that Vince McMahon was retiring in 2022. So things are at best tense and at worst outright hostile when it comes to this particular contract negotiation. It's been a very difficult one that they finally felt that they were getting over the line until recently. A deal has now been struck and worked out, but not finalised. The plan was for Brock Lesnar to sign a new contract at the Royal Rumble when he returned to the WWE. He would enter the Rumble in the same spot that Bron Breakker would enter, as Bron Breakker replaced him in the booking. The actual production team didn't write anything new for Bron Breakker. They didn't have time. He was just told everything that says Brock Lesnar, that means you. Go and do it. And he did. Brock would have battled one-on-one with Gunther in order to hype the crowd up. The Pat McAfee spot was designed that he would have been stepping into the ring with Gunther and Brock Lesnar and thought better of it. That's why it plays out a little differently with Bron Breakker in the ring instead. Brock would eliminate some people and then be eliminated by an ultimate opportunist in Dominic Mysterio. The opportunism is a part of the character that they're trying to build up for Dominic. It does give him a lot more when it comes to gravitas and storytelling. It did not work out. Dominic would have eliminated Brock Lesnar. Lesnar, in typical Brock Lesnar style, would be infuriated with Dominic for interrupting his one-on-one stare-down with Gunther. Naturally, this would lead to Lesnar versus Dominic Mysterio in a very, very brief squash match in Elimination Chamber, where Dominic Mysterio would be squashed to within an inch of his life. The idea here is very simple. Brock Lesnar was getting a heel reaction when he left, but they wanted a more face reaction when he went up against Gunther to make it more impactful because Gunther was going to win. WrestleMania would involve Brock Lesnar challenging for the Intercontinental Championship and losing. This is something that he and Gunther both were eager to have happen. It was rumoured last year, but I said at the time last year the plan was Drew McIntyre, and so it proved to be. Going forwards, I reported about 4 months ago that it was going to be Gunther versus Brock Lesnar. This is a plans change moment. After that match, Brock would take his usual WrestleMania to SummerSlam break before returning at SummerSlam as a potential opponent for a CM Punk, a Cody Rhodes, or a Seth Rollins, who would at that time also be returning to renew the chase for the World Heavyweight Championship. The plan, to my knowledge, up until the Royal Rumble, was for Seth Rollins versus CM Punk, neither of them to leave with the championship, and for CM Punk to be chasing after Damian Priest until around SummerSlam when Rollins would return. As you might imagine, things have now changed in a big way for WrestleMania. Since the court filing, any mention of Brock Lesnar has been absolutely destroyed. There is no mention, no evidence, no even incremental reminder of Brock Lesnar. After the Royal Rumble, we have finally started to see confirmations by different wrestling media of what I've been reporting for months popping up. And let's jump in on this right now. We start with WrestleZone, who are reporting from a number of different sources an update on Brock Lesnar's WWE return plans being scrapped. They start with Dave Meltzer saying he previously reported Brock Lesnar is set to return to programming soon, likely at the Royal Rumble. The premium live event came and went without him. The Fightful paywall reports regarding plans for Brock Lesnar being scrapped. They're true, and per Sean Ross Sapp, Lesnar had been planned for the Royal Rumble, but that changed in the wake of the lawsuit. These reports came after the Royal Rumble, about 4 months after my initial report. Additionally, Sapp writes that Brock Lesnar was discussed as a potential opponent for Gunther at WrestleMania 40. However, he notes that the match was not discussed as much throughout the weekend. He cites one WWE source who said it could be a long time before Lesnar appears in WWE again, barring a drastic change. Next up, confirmation of this via SE Scoops. WWE may cancel Brock Lesnar WrestleMania Dream match after connection to Vince McMahon allegations. This comes down to a very, very simple report. I was able to confirm Breakker was called up to the WWE main roster thanks to that last minute change. With that being said, Breakker will not take Lesnar's planned spot against Dominic Mysterio at the Elimination Chamber live event. Dave Meltzer reported during his daily update, Gunther was supposed to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. While it's not confirmed that they were planned to have an IC title match, that match is now on hold. Take it from the guy who reported it 4 months ago, they were going to be having an Intercontinental Championship match. We go now to Bleacher Report, WWE rumours. Brock Lesnar removed from creative plans ahead of WrestleMania 40. I'd imagine this comes from mostly the same sources. According to Fireful's Sean Ross Sapp, there have been internal discussions about a match between Lesnar and Intercontinental Champion Gunther at WrestleMania in April, but the plan is no longer on the table. Per Dave Meltzer, Lesnar was supposed to be in the Men's Royal Rumble, but when the decision was made to pull him, he was replaced by NXT star Bron Breakker. More telling is that this Brock Lesnar news has started to reach real mainstream media. We go now to Video Games Chronicle reporting Brock Lesnar removed from WWE Supercard following Vince McMahon allegations and is currently set to feature in 2K24. They mention the lawsuit naturally and cover players of WWE Supercard are reporting that all Brock Lesnar cards have been removed from the game and are no longer usable in any of the game's modes. WWE Supercard is a top trump style game in which players battle by comparing card stats with each other. VGC has contacted 2K for comment on the story and will update it should we get a response. Further complicating matters for 2K is that Lesnar was recently announced as a featured character on the cover of a special edition of WWE 2K24. The cover, which celebrates 40 years of WrestleMania, features Lesnar alongside other WWE icons such as John Cena and The Undertaker. And if you're looking for an update on 2K24, here's an exclusive one for you. There was a plan for a Brock Lesnar Undertaker match via WrestleMania 30 to be featured in the WrestleMania mode that this special edition was all built around. So they are now scrambling a little bit to find a replacement. Finally, we go to Game Rant. Mobile game WWE Supercard has seemingly removed Brock Lesnar from its roster. Supercard is a digital card game first released in 2014, developed by Cat Daddy Games and published by 2K. Despite being a decade old, Supercard still receives regular support, with recent updates adding CM Punk to the roster and kicking off Season 10 for the game. I know a lot of Twitch streamers who play a lot of WWE Supercard. Future updates on the status of Brock Lesnar, who has not signed a new contract with the WWE, can be found here. We gave an update on Friday, spoiler warning if you wanted to know first, but let's give you an update right now as to what the actual situation is. The WWE intend to allow Brock Lesnar's contract to slowly expire, essentially sweeping the whole thing under the rug and pretending he was never one of them to begin with. At this point in time, there is no intention to offer a new deal, but they may come back to this once the findings of the federal investigation are concluded. Essentially, if Brock Lesnar is found to have no wrongdoing, I suspect he will return to the WWE. As regards the WrestleMania card, it is changing primarily due to the CM Punk injury and the Brock Lesnar absence, but there's debate as to whether or not it's changing for the good. The Rock has stepped into that gap to work with Triple H, finalising the card when it comes to a creative sense. We'll have more on that during Monday's spoiler warning. I'm still chasing a few leads, check out that. General consensus backstage though is that Brock Lesnar is not going to be missed. Naturally, this is another example of why you should be following spoiler warning and the Tom Colohue channel, because you'd have known most of this months before it actually came to fruition. Hopefully we'll see you for Monday's spoiler warning show with more on The Rock, but until then, check out the latest WTF Wrestling where we discuss the return schedule for Seth Rollins. Enjoy!